Afternoon, all investors. Good afternoon, Chandrashekar sir. Very good afternoon.
Very, very good afternoon, Sadepan sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And I'll just have a quick phone intro between all. Hey, Paul. Hi, good afternoon, Paul.
Hi, Sharapan. Hope you're good.
Paul sir, very, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, sir. Happy to be here, sir.
Sundar sir, good afternoon to you.
Hi, Chandrashekar. How are you?
All well, all good, sir. Thank you.
Sundar sir, we are very much happy to have you here in this meeting, sir. A very senior angel investor here in Tamil Nadu ecosystem. And our portfolio of startups are very much very early stage invested in some of the startups. We are also very much proud to have you with us in season 2, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Ramesh Kumar sir, good afternoon. Silvraj sir, good afternoon. And Anand sir, Sundaraman Gopal sir, very good afternoon. Sir, good afternoon. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Chandrashekar. Good afternoon, Kupperi, sir.
Sir, namaskaram, Anand sir, Ramesh, Rajesh sir, very good afternoon to all of you, sir. And all the others, sir.
Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Ramhari, madam, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. கமெண்ட் எடுக்கிறது தான் இந்த அவ்வளோ சேலஞ்சஸ் அளவுக்கு வந்துட்டீங்க நீங்கள்
Ayyo. Oh,
ஸோ பேக் டு பேக் பிச் கால்ஸ் நிறைய எடுத்துட்டு இருக்கீங்க வெரி ஹாப்பி மேம் வெரி ஹாப்பி அண்ட் வி ஆர் ஆல்சோ பார்ட் ஆஃப் தட் ஜர்னி வெரி சூப்பர்
yeah. It's usually I'm happy to. Yeah, thank you. Get it.
தேங்க்யூ குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன் கார்த்திக் குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன் ஆனந்த் சார் குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன் எஸ் சார் கால் குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன் and good afternoon Raj Ganesh Hari yeah good afternoon so Naful so give a heads up we can just start okay just 2 minutes okay so yeah so Shekar sir we'll just start in the next 2 minutes sir.
Oh, sure. Perfect.
Before investors are also joining up, we'll exactly start at around, I'll just start the briefing from 3:08 and we'll just share for weekend. I'll hand it over to you, sir. Okay.
Perfect. Definitely. Thank you.
Sir, we do have a small, quick interaction session in the next 2 minutes before I just hand it over to Kupperi sir will give an introduction. யாருக்கு எதுவும் questions இருந்துச்சுன்னா quick questions நீங்கள் கேட்கலாம். We're very happy to support and address on it. And I'll just give up a quick update about Startup Singam Season 2 right now. So Startup Singam Season 2, we started with all the application process and now we come into phase 1 order top finalist startups. We identified 50 plus, I think it's a kind of 51 startups kita nam identify பண்ணிருக்கோம் who are the top finalists from phase 1. So these phase 1 finalists, 51 startups have got individual institutional investors interest as well. In that 18 startups had got golden pass as well. We had a pitch bootcamp happened 2 weeks back here in Chennai. So where the founders and investors had a very direct interaction. ஸோ என்னதான் நம்ம ஆன்லைனில் பிக்சர்ஸில் பேசினாலும் டேரக்ட் இன்ட்ராக்ஷன் அப்போ ஃபவுண்டர் ஃபிட் இல்லை ஸோ அதனால வி ஸ்பெஷலி ஆர்கனைஸ்ட் அட் திஸ் டைம் அண்ட் இட் கேம் அவுட் வெரி வெல் அண்ட் வி வேர் ஏபிள் வி ஹேட் அரௌண்ட் 63 startups participating and these are total kind of 40 startups will be getting that finalist but we got around 51 startups so 10 to 12 startups out of that they couldn't take it up to next level but all 63 who came on that day had a kind of an institutional investors interest generated only but 51 only were able to make through it to the final round and next level we have institutional investors discussion going on deal structuring and all those processes has been started and pre-DD report எல்லாமே preparations are also going on in full swing so since it is the filing due date is 30th September many startups have requested for some time on that so அதனால தான் current year குள்ள updates அது வந்து we are also waiting on that and once it's ready we will be happy to share it with you across and okay I'll just move ahead with the start of the session and I'll just hand it over to Chandrashekar. So good afternoon once again investors and thank you so much for joining today and today we have a very wonderful session where we'll be knowing and understanding how to evaluate a startup as an angel investor. How do you evaluate a startup? So this is what we'll be learning out today and we have very much more senior and seasoned angel investor here with us, Mr. Chandrashekar Kupperi. So Chandrashekar Kupperi sir, so he started his career in 1997 into financial planning and compliance, starting with that only. So that is the ultimatum for any business finance தான். So just like ஒரு blood flow எப்படி எல்லாருக்கும் முக்கியமோ ஒரு ஹியூமன் பாடிக்கு முக்கியமோ கேஷ் ஃப்ளோ வந்து ஒரு கம்பெனிக்கு ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியம் and he's already discussed a lot about that in earlier sessions and he started his professional angel investment journey from 2017 onwards and he was a part of different kind of angel investment networks and going forward and with all those experience whatever he collected he along with his friends, a group of friends and their long journey traveling business partners or same they started Peaceful Progress. He's a general partner at Peaceful Progress and it was registered by February 2022 and it's a SEBI registered AF Cat 1 fund. So that is what they are doing and they are kind of mostly into deep tech focused sector startups. That's what they mainly prefer to move on And in some cases, they'll be interested to have a look at the other startups as well, where there is a promising founder journey and there is a promising traction well in place. So investors நீங்க Chandrashekar Kupperi sir, apart from the session, நீங்க என்ன learnings எடுத்து அவங்ககிட்ட கேட்டுக்கலாம் அப்படின்னா, so how did you start with the journey? உங்களுக்கு angel investment, what are the hits, what are the flops, and how much did it happen? How are you able to take it forward? அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய journeys இருக்குது. And Kupperi sir வந்து startup இருக்கும், but I know him even before that. He's traveled across Tamil Nadu meeting a lot of founders. So that is a great thing. So because meeting investors in one part, making founders investment ready is another part. And he played a major role in that. So he directly interacted with startups. He's gone into tier 2 and tier 3 cities across Tamil Nadu. He's met one-on-one with the founders directly, sit with them and discuss with them what will work out, what will not work out. Don't do this. He's a straight-to-face person. He will tell to the startups. With investors, he has a different face. With startup, he has a very correct face. This is what you should do. You are not doing it wrong, pa. Kindly change in that. So திட்டலாம் மாட்டாங்க, சாஃப்டாக ஊசி போட்டு. That is the first best thing what Chandrashekar sir does. And Shekhar sir, over to you, and thank you so much. Investors sessions வந்து இது கொண்டு போங்க. Whatever questions you have, you can just share it in the comment box. We can take it up from there. And post the session, we'll have an interactive Q&A session. And Naufal, we can go ahead, right? So you can start, sir. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Kadepal sir, thank you so much for the kind introduction. You have always been very, very generous. Okay. In the session, எப்படி அப்படின்னா சூரியனுக்கே டார்ச் காமிக்கிற மாதிரி. And I've got some amazing veteran investors out here. So it's such a privilege, even sharing my thoughts, with them. So thank you, Startup Singam, the team, for giving me this opportunity. Very, very happy afternoon, good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining. Angel investment, is something which is very closer to my heart. Yeah, அப்படின்னா in the word angel itself means that, we are trying to support an entrepreneur. And I think the startup founders, they definitely need support, not just in terms of money, but in terms of the experience, that the HNIs and the angels bring on the table. So அதனால தான் வந்து இந்த செஷன்லாம் வந்து எனக்கு ரொம்ப closer to my heart. And I'm so grateful, for investors, to have joined the session. I'm equally wanting to learn from you. So next 25-30 minutes, I will share, my thoughts, and then, we will leave it open to Q&A, as well as would love to hear, your thoughts also. So angel investment. அப்படின்னா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் என்ன, அதுக்கு முன்னாடி என்னோட ப்ரொஃபைல் சொல்லிடுறேன், நான் என்ன பண்ணேன்னு. In my case, I started my angel investment journey way back in 2018. And it's very strange. ஏன் strange அப்படின்னா, I was in the corporate world until 2012. I was with ExxonMobil, moved to KPMG, and then with Yardley of London, was in the UK. 17 years of corporate background, did a lot of M&A, fundraise, refinancing. And from 2013 June onwards, I run this business called Onova, which is more of an advisory firm. Strangely, though I was looking into the startup world, I never became an angel investor until the year 2018. So probably, everything happens, as per its time. That's what I believe in. But today, I'm quite excited about the journey of startup itself, being an angel investor. What has happened in my case in terms of what drew me to the world of angel investment is, in the startup plan, they are doing something which is very differentiated. What I call as the next big thing. And I think whenever a startup does that next big thing, it is very, very curious to me, because having worked for large organizations, I always felt that the large organizations, there's a lot of bureaucracy there. ஏதோ ஒரு புது இனிஷியேட்டிவ் எடுத்தோம் அப்படின்னா, there's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of, discussion that happens, boardroom conversations happen, but ultimately nothing, goes to the next level. I always say that large corporates are like elephants. They're big, but, they're very, very slow in terms of making decisions. But startup, disruptive. That's, the sort of, idea, with which they come up, which is what is exciting. In fact, it is tempting. But having said this, when I started my journey, I was filled with both excitement as well as hesitation. Having worked for the large corporates, I was not very sure, how my temperament was going to be, gelling with the startup world itself. So it took me some time for me to even understand how the startup founders behave, what is their motivation, how passionate they are, how, focused they are on their vision. And that's how my journey started. Today, I have invested in more than 30 startups. I've also invested in funds, venture capital funds. So I have 7 years of exposure in the world of, angel investment. But having said that, let me also make this statement, because you see some exits out there. I have made money. I have lost money also. I always make this statement: startup success is rarely immediate. Though it is so exciting to speak about the startup world is not a fantasy world. And therefore, angel investment, if you ask me, is not for the faint-hearted. This is one statement I'll make it with a lot of, passion, because I don't want people to get in the world of angel investment if they don't know how risky it is. Why am I saying this? A lot of patience is required. Lot of patience is required because to build a good portfolio, it takes time. You're looking at the portfolio out there, where it has taken time even to evaluate so many startups before, you sort of come into this. And I always say that the odds are always against. In every deal, the odds are always against. How we stay disciplined is where we come in as a classy angel investor, because this is a risky asset, a risky class. So, what has made me continue this journey? I always tell myself that just as we invest in listed company and we always look to stay longer, I think that's exactly the mantra for even the startup world. Can I stay longer? Can I hold the investment for a slightly longer period so that I consider this as a long-term bet and not a short-term bet? This is what helped me to understand that I cannot do it by myself. If I need to become a good angel investor, I need to ensure that I have the right connections. I also need to do my homework in terms of understanding the market trends. But more importantly, I need to have this knack of identifying this passionate and capable founders. Ador knack tha. How do you find out, who is cut out to become, somebody quite significant? So these three things is something that I learned and I continue to learn in my journey. Number one, right connections. As much we are able to get, connections with other investors, connections with other platforms, that helps us to become much more matured in our own journey. Second, market trends. We also need to do our homework. And third important thing, the knack of finding out, the capable and the right founders. So I continue my journey with a sense of purpose and excitement in terms of investing in the world of startups. I am still motivated to look out for that next groundbreaking idea that is going to come, from the world of startup. So I'm still absolutely excited. That's why, whenever Startup Singam wanted, this session or wanted me to be part of it, one excitement is, innamari pudimana startup na paakapore, and look at this, 51 startups have already got, the next level, of which 18 have got the golden pass. Hats off to you, Startup Singam. This is amazing, guys. So as I said, I'm here to share my experience. I'm here to share my learnings. So I'm going to make a caveat, and the caveat is, to me, startup investment is both art and science. And if you personally ask me, it is largely more art than science, because we are all investing in the early stage. So many of the startups that even Startup Singam brought to us, they're all at early stage. So how do you ensure that we develop this art of even finding out how good they are? So the disclaimer is, whatever I'm sharing now is all based on my own personal learnings and the continuous learnings, that I'm having. What am I discussing? This is something that I follow very diligently. I have a framework, and I have a framework to evaluate the startups. I've got these 9 key aspects which I use to evaluate, and I categorize these 9 key aspects around 3 major categories. One is called as the foundation. The second I call as assessing, and the third I call as balancing. So please stay with me. This is my own framework, but kindly stay with me, because this is something that I do very, very sincerely. And I call this framework as a fantastic framework. Naane solli enniya fantastic sonna nenikaranga. Please stay with me. I'll explain to you why I mean as a fantastic framework. So, what is the first thing called foundation? In the foundation, what we are trying to understand is, first of all, we have to respect that this is another alternative asset class. We'll come to that. What is that alternative asset class? The second we need to respect, very, very importantly, is also to understand that duddu poteyano, which means you have to allocate some money. As I said in the beginning, angel investment is looking at how we can even support the startup, which means allocate some money with a conscious decision that that money is going to be put into the world of startup. And the third is thesis. What thesis you have even to consider investing in the startup? I call that as a foundation. So let me quickly move to the very first one, which is alternate asset class. What is alternate asset class? All of us have invested in most of these categories, or all of these categories, are much more than this also. Some of you would have done even crypto. I'm not done crypto. What I'm saying is that these are the usual suspects. Ingada நம்ம வந்து முக்காசி நம்ம காசு போடுவோம். Real estate இருக்கலாம், gold இருக்கலாம், mutual funds இருக்கலாம், of course equity markets. And of course, they all give returns. There is absolutely no doubt in that. They all give significant returns. But what am I talking about? I'm talking about this another asset class. That's why it's an alternative asset class called angel investment. And trust me, even this gives us significant returns. What is the motivation even to become an angel investor? Trust me, it is a significant returns. The returns in my language, I always say, is manifold. Other examples, there are some crazy examples let me give you. WhatsApp gave 60x returns to its initial investors. BharatPay gave 80x to its initial investors. What I'm saying is that let's not go by the 80 or 60, but between 3x to 5x, getting as a return is not a distant reality. It is something that happens. It has happened to me. I invested in 2018. I've had some exits, which I showed you also. Typically, I've been getting anywhere between 3x to 6x. That's been the range. So 3x to 5x is not a distant reality. It can happen. Therefore, the intent of investing in startup is definitely returns, but there is one underlying, statement which defines that investment. There is a waiting period. So the question is, how long do I hold on to it? In my experience, I always say angel investment is a marathon, which means 5 to 8 years. If you have that waiting period, trust me, at least it'll be peaceful. Will not be, asking the next question, epo exit or I think for me, these examples give me the confidence, that there is money to be made if I'm patient. Look at this. 2009, this Midas Touch man invested money in Flipkart, and look at, sort of returns, that Ashish Gupta has got in 2018. Pattalacho, Noor. Are there many more examples? Of course, there are examples. Let's look at some international examples. Peter Thiel, he invested in Facebook. The PayPal guy, 500,000 became 1 billion. Jeff Bezos, the Amazon guy, invested in Google. 250,000 became 1.5 billion. Let's come to another Indian example. Anirudh Damani, I'm sure many of you would know this amazing, investor, Artha Venture. They invested in Oyo, 150 times return. What I'm saying is that there is a significant opportunity for us to make money in this alternative asset class called the startup. And that's why we need to be significantly motivated in terms of how we look at this investment. So my first very point is alternative asset class, vedakudadu. Of course, as I said, we have to evaluate, we have to be much more matured enough to understand what the startup is doing, but we should not miss that asset class. In that pie chart, somewhere we need to have this asset class called investing in the world of startup. This is my favorite statement, allocate money. What I mean by allocate money. When I started my journey as an angel investor, one thing I said is, I only want to put my excess savings in the world of startup. That is what I call as allocate money. Simple solapana, play money. Something that you believe, is excess in cash, and therefore you want to give it a try, and therefore you start your journey in terms of investing in the world of startup. I want to make this statement also. The startup investment world is very, very addictive. I'll repeat that. The startup investment world is very, very addictive. I get addicted all the time. So once you begin the journey, or trust me, there will always be this addiction. You end up on that corpon will always come, but trust me, it's very, very addictive. Therefore, I think it's very important that we decide to allocate money and then have a strategy. In my case, if I remember right, in 2018, I had allocated a 30 lakh, saying that in the 30 lakh, I'm going to invest in 4 startups. That was my, journey at that point of time, because at that time I was investing a higher money also in the startup. And I told myself that I need to have a waiting period of anywhere between 2 to 3 years. Absolutely wrong. 2 to 3 years left. That's why I said it's a marathon. Probably, if we have this waiting period between 5 to 8 years, probably, if you're able to allocate a decent corpus, then I think Chadi, Valandu can give us returns. I think that's possible. So one of the big requests I make to always HNIs is that allocate some portion of your savings towards this asset class, because this is a fantastic alternate asset class. The only caution is never do this. Don't put, so much of the money into the world of startup, because as I said, startup world is a highly risky world. So it's very, very important that we appreciate investing in startup, but we don't, sort of put significant money in the world of startup. This is very closer to my heart. Thesis. What is thesis? I think I have a thesis, and my thesis is I always decide what amount I need to put. Of course, it can change as you do your due diligence or as you get, closer to the investment time frame. But you need to be clear in your mind what is the amount I want to invest. Secondly, what is the focus area for me as an investment? So this focus area could be sectors, could be segments. For example, in my case, I'm a fan of consumer business because I come from that background. Having worked for Yardley and other brands, the consumer segment always excites me a lot. But then over a period of time, I've realized that that could be a greater focus, but I also need to develop focus on other categories because that makes the thesis much more intelligent and makes it much more attractive. So whenever we speak about the focus areas, it's not just that one or two areas. I think we need to develop an interest and fascination for a few segments. That is what makes this angel investment much more rewarding. And of course, where do I get the deals from? One of the avenue today is Startup Singam, because anyway, they've got a lot of deals. But we also need to have a pipeline of deals because the more we look at, that's what, makes us better. And then think in terms of, what sort of average ticket size you should finally, have as a basis. In my earlier days, I used to have a 10 to 15 lakh as a criteria because that's how I began. But trust me now, because I'm investing in much more startups, my average has come anywhere between 2.5 to 5 lakhs. That's what I do at the moment. I'm not going beyond that unless it's an exceptional case. But what I'm trying to do with the world of startup is wherever I think I can leverage my experience, I'm trying my best to do it if the founder or the founding team needs it. I don't push myself, to say that I want to become an advisor. I never do that. But wherever I think my experience could be leveraged, I take it as a responsibility, and which is what I would also request you. If you're good at something, I think the startup founding team needs that expertise from our side. Let's not push it, but in the best way it is possible, if we're able to guide them, I think that will be a defining moment for both the startup and for our own investment. And finally, the geography. At the moment, I've invested in US, UK, maybe, a limited way in UAE. But I've chosen only those geography. I'm not a larger part of my investment is in India. But probably you may want to think, of even looking at outside of India. Today, Gift City has come, which also gives a greater revenue for investors, to invest outside in a much more easier way. So thesis is very important. Let me quickly give you an example of what I mean by a thesis. This is an example. I invest whatever typical check size you have at whatever stage, you believe, you need to come in the geography. Largely, it could be India. To fund, what is your specific objective in terms of investing in that startup? What did you like about it? Of course, the sector and the market. Do you want to offer something as a special sauce? Let's just take this as an example. So this is an example. For example, you want to invest anywhere between 1 to 5 lakh. That's your typical check size. The stage could be idea, seed, pre-revenue, early. Some investors prefer even the growth stage. Some even prefer the late stage. Depends in terms of the quantum of money that they want to invest. But that's okay. So long you decide your typical stage. Geography, mostly it is India. As in my case, it is India, UAE, and UK and US. I like this part. Why do you want to invest? What is it now that is making you super excited? Probably we saw something which is very disruptive. Probably we saw something which is very, very impactful. Probably we saw that trend or that theme, something is super about it. And you believe that if I catch them young, there's a higher chance, that money can multiply in a significant way. Say early mover. I think this adjective is very, very important for us to decide. Never easy, because we can get carried away in terms of, what the startup founder can tell us. We got to do our homework in terms of comparing with the competition, even to understand whether this impact can be measured, whether this disruption can stay for a longer time, whether this early stage startup can raise the next money so that it can scale up much more faster, whether this trend or this theme can continue for a longer time. Our horizon is 5 to 8 years. At least, it has to stay for 10 years so that we get the opportunity to exit. This is something, that should be closer to one's heart whenever one evaluates or invests in a startup. And of course, the sector or the market. I put consumer first because I used to be a fan of consumer. I continue to be a fan of consumer, but now it is more D2C in my case. Apollo Badina, it used to be, B2C, B2B2C, rarely B2B, Ipella D2C. But that's what, is the interest, that I carry. Of course, deep tech is again something, which I've started evaluating in a much more closer way. Satyama sometimes puriya matingarudhu. But that's where, we have to go deeper, even to understand what is the startup doing? Is there a market for it? What about the competition? Why is it so differentiated? Is there an IPR that can protect them? All that is something that is very, very relevant. And today's world is all about mobility, whether it's EV, drones, space tech. I think these are some of the segments. Of course, you would have, your own segment to choose. The last one, special sauce. Can I contribute something to the growth of the startup? This is something, I've always asked this question for myself. Not that, you can do for every startup, but at least handful. Somewhere you believe, that you can work with the founders. I think that, gives you that edge also in terms of sharing your experience, probably even sharpening our own skill set. Because I believe, the more you work with a startup, it teaches you a lot to become better. So that's what I call as a thesis. I like this statement of Gary Vee. Gary Vee is a well-known, renowned investor, angel investor, a fantastic entrepreneur. But look at that statement. Even if our ambitions are huge, he says, start slow, start small, build gradually, build smart. And I think this statement is so closer to my heart because for all aspiring HNIs, angel investors, I want to say that start with a small money. Could be a 1 lakh, could be a 2 lakh, 2.5 lakh. Start with something which is small and then build gradually because you will be investing in many more startups. That's why I said focus area, but then have more focus areas, develop that ability to understand the sectors or segments because that's how we become proficient in the world of startup. So we have finished the foundation. What is foundation? It's an asset class, alternative asset class, and therefore we need to ensure that we invest in it. When can you invest? You got to allocate the money. When can you allocate the money? Only when you have a clear thesis. So that's the foundation. I come to the next three. This is all about assessing the founder, assessing whether the founder and the team has got skin in the game, but more importantly, networking capabilities of the founder and probably our own, networking capability. So let's understand what is this assessing. Founder, very, 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 very important aspect of the whole startup investment. We always have this beautiful statement, we bet on the jockey, not the horse. And therefore, the very important aspect of looking at the founder is, does the founder have that fitment with the market? In my case, I always go with one more before that founder market. I always say, has the founder understood the problem well? I always have this statement, a problem well defined as a problem half solved. Which means if the founder has understood the problem well, if the founder knows that the problem is popular, expensive, mandatory, frequent, then I think, the founder will be able to come up with a much more efficacious solution because the founder will also know that there is a large problem to be solved and therefore there will be a large set of customer base also. When can scale happen? Scale can only happen when you have a larger customer base. And therefore, this founder market fit is very, very closer to my heart, but more important. Can they build a team also? Of course, I want to look at the clarity of the thought of the founder. I want to look in terms of, how aspirational the founder is. And therefore, the sort of, ability for the founder to scale is something that always, we are looking at. But one important aspect, can they build a team? And whenever it comes to team, we are looking at 3-4 aspects. One, can there be, experts in their own functions? I don't want the founder to do multiple functions. Multitasking could be exciting, but then that puts a lot of pressure, sometimes even stress on the founder. And therefore, over a period of time, the founder needs to either get co-founders or maybe begin with co-founders so that they know functional expertise. But more importantly, can they work cohesively? Because a startup land is never easy. I always say that this is not a fantasy land. And therefore, for them to go through the pressures, how resilient they are, that only comes in when they are able to build the team. And to me, teamwork makes the dream work. And therefore, if the team is strong, the energy levels are high, but trust me, anything is possible. Skin in the game. What I mean by skin in the game. To me, these three are very, very important aspects. I do this very, very, religiously, if I have to use that word. What is financial investment? The first question, what money have you put? Not necessarily that the founder would have put his own money, but let's say, what about the family? Has the family given the money? Has the friends, have they given the money? I think for me, what is important is, has the founder made that sincere effort even to put either personal savings or has that mindset, to even take money from his own close people to show that there is a confidence level inside in terms of whatever the founder is doing, that it can scale up. Otherwise, why you would put your own money? I think for me, this financial investment defines how well the founder has thought in terms of showing the skin in the game. Second, time commitment. I'm very, very nervous, if the founder is not able to maximize their time in the startup that they have founded. Because the concern is that because startup founders are always, thinking, they've got this multiple thoughts and therefore they think even in terms of certain aspects which is beyond their ability to even execute. I always say that if you chase 2 rabbits, you'll catch none. So one of the focus area I want the startups to have is also ensuring that they give 100% of that time commitment so that the focus is believable. Because that's what is going to help them drive the growth, build the relationship, build the business. And finally, reputation. What I mean by reputation, how well the startup founders, they want to create a positive brand image about whatever they are doing, which means how much of trust they want to create with the customers, how much of trust they want to create with the investors. If I'm able to see this, oh, trust me, I get this confidence that there is skin in the game. Finally, we come to this networking capability within this assessing. What is networking? Oh, such a beautiful statement, because I always say that network is our net worth. In fact, I also make the statement, networking is not about just connecting with people. Networking is connecting people with ideas, people with opportunities. I think if the founders are much more capable in terms of, having that tenacity to network, not just with the investors, but with fellow founders, probably with other mentors, probably with some of the other key relationships that they need, the customers, the vendors, I think they become all-rounded, well-rounded, personalities. So seeking warm introductions, even being part of incubators or accelerators, I think all that, makes a significant difference in terms of how, the founders have got that knack of networking. To me, networking is very, very relevant as an investor also. So when I make a statement about networking, I mean this from a founder perspective, also from an investor perspective. When I started my journey, I was doing it alone because I thought, namakada multiple qualifications, CLM but strong experience, what numbers done. I realized that if I don't network with people, I will never be able to understand the nuances of what the startup or the market or the competition or even the ability, for these founders to scale up. Because we're dealing with personalities who are going to deal with the market, with the competition, with the fellow mates. I think sometimes, when you talk to other people, your peers, trust me, your knowledge becomes much more better or advanced, or rather the maturity is much more better. And I think this is a message also for fellow investors like ourselves as to how we network with other people to ensure that we are able to get the knowledge much more faster, because that is what is going to make us much more better in the world of startup investment. So we have covered even the assessing. Assessing is all about assessing the founder, the skin in the game, and of course, the networking capabilities. And it also applies to us in terms of how well we network also, how well we also develop relationship with the founding team. I come to the last three, which is balancing. What is balancing? I think I realized, that over a period of time, if I don't become better, I will not be able to ascertain a better startup. And therefore, the very first word there is circle of competence. How do I improve that? The second is, how do I time my investments? Time it. Have I even got that ability to show that patience, demonstrate that capability that I'm spending enough time to evaluate a startup before investing, or am I just doing a knee-jerk reaction? And finally, the investment portfolio, how to build it. That's balancing. Let's come to the first one. Very, very interesting. There's always a gap. And where is the gap? The gap basically comes in terms of the sectors. If you remember, I said in the beginning, I may be a fan of consumer segment. That could be a focus, but that can't be the only focus. Today, the world is all about tech. Can I get my focus there? Today, the world is about even understanding, how deep tech startups, can be a game changer. Can I apply my mind there and get that as a focus area? In the world of health and wellness, today things are getting much more personalized. Things are getting much more convenient. Things are getting much more accessible. Can I, even take that as a focus area? What I'm saying is that if there is a gap for me not to understand a segment, to me, that's a crime. So when I started my journey in the AI, ML, virtual reality, in the NFT, blockchain, robotics, automation, accountant ache. Onnum puriyala. I had great difficulty, in understanding those. But then I realized I'm making a huge mistake because the world today is only leaning towards that. So one good thing I did was not taking it as Greek and Latin, but started networking with other fellow investors, guys who understood tech better. Also did a lot of, study by myself. I used to read a lot of materials even to understand what this new age business is, or this new age industry is, or this new age technology is. What I'm saying is that I developed the art of even, building association with peers. I also started writing blogs on them after some time, so that only when you do it, you realize how difficult it is. But that also shows, that how well you have understood that particular segment. What I'm saying is that I started putting myself to continuously learn the new things. And that gap, if we are able to shrink, but if we are able to expand our circle of competence, I think that makes us much more better in the world of startup investment, because the whole idea about startup is how disruptive they are. पुதுமையா இருக்கணும். अलग से दिखना चाहिए. That's what we say. How differentiated they are. And I think if they are differentiated, it actually gives us a kick. எப்படிவா யோசிக்கிறோம்? How are they able to even come, and talk to us about an idea that at the moment looks, even beyond our own imagination? But I think this is the world of startup, and this is one area that we need to develop significantly. This is Shark Tank India. You think they all invest alone? Not at all. Many of them, they join hands and invest because they know that 2 minds are better than one. Very rarely, they have done, in few investments by themselves. But typically the mindset is this. Forget India. What about Shark Tank US? You think they again do by themselves? Never. They're always talking in terms of, how they can co-invest together. This is something I love about Startup Singam also, because you're trying to bring those startups to various investors. I think the last Sunday, or a couple of weeks Sunday, that was so beautiful, because whichever startups we had chosen, or some of the startups that you decided is relevant to us, you made us sit and, understand how better they are. And I will make the statement only when we physically, spoke to them, and the way, they were able to articulate, we also realized how good, some of these guys are. So thank you for doing that. But what I'm saying is that it's always co-investment. We all coexist. And therefore, one important quality as angel investors we need to develop is the circle of competence. I come to the second one, time it. What is time it? Look at that beautiful statement. A good angel investor is someone who takes time to learn how to invest in startups successfully. So earlier when I started my journey, I was part of a frenzy. I was part of a frenzy saying that, ella invest pandra, nanu invest pannu. Oh, trust me, that's how it is. And if you haven't understood this knack, we will also make this mistake of directly investing in the startup. Maha tappana vishayam, unless, you have a greater knowledge of what the startup is doing and have a great relationship with the founders. I made that mistake in the beginning. No more make that mistake. What I'm trying to improve upon is, can I fight this human tendency that I have to follow the herd? We all have this herd mentality. Sorry for saying that, but we all have this herd mentality. After a lot of, reasoning on this, I realized that I need to fight this human tendency to follow the herd. Now, sometimes I say that it's okay to be an anti-portfolio. Tappilla. Number invest panla, let it be an anti-portfolio. Even if it is a jackpot, it's okay. But at least, it was a conscious decision, informed decision making, so it's okay. But let's not just simply follow the herd. I need to understand the difference between information and the influence. Sometimes we get carried away. Somebody is trying to influence us and then pushing us, to make their investment. I think as HNIs, angels, this is one quality that we need to develop in terms of how we are independent. I'm not saying that, no, we should always be independent. There is a beautiful way to lean into the thoughts of others, gain that understanding and the knowledge, and then invest. But what I'm trying to avoid is the herd mentality. We should not get sucked into the vortex of influence, because that's how sometimes it happens, because we are the third largest in the world of startup ecosystem, which means look at the number of startups that is coming and attacking us. Sorry for using that word attacking, but that's what is happening. Yakka startup, they keep approaching us. In LinkedIn, I'm pretty sure as angel investor, if you put yourself as angel investor, you become, one immediate target for people to come and embrace you. So we got to be careful about it. So one of the quality when I say time it is, can I even learn the art of saying no? Can I refrain from investing if my heart says, if my rational, my emotion, my gut says, I don't need to invest? Having made this statement, I also want to make the statement that just because an early stage startup has got a higher valuation, do not refrain from investing. So long you believe that the valuation can significantly go up, therefore the gains can be exponential, it's okay, even if the valuation is slightly high. Because valuation again is largely an art than a science. I can come up with a method, I can come up, with some approach and tell you, but end of the day, we all know it's largely an art. The only caution I'm saying is that if you believe that that valuation can go significantly higher than that, then I think it's very, very interesting. So to sum up, what I'm asking you to avoid is this common terminology called FOMO, fear of missing out. And one term that I developed for myself over a period of time is JOMO, joy of missing out. It's okay. If my heart, my rational, my mind, my gut said, Panamenda, I don't want to do it. But If I've got the, feeler from others, and if I feel, that I need to do, I'll be the first person who will go and want to, invest in that particular startup. So time it is something that I learned the harder way. It's never easy, but I think it's such a beautiful discipline that, we can imbibe into ourselves to become better angel investors. And finally, I come to this beautiful word called building the portfolio. One of the best things that we can do is build a portfolio. This is just an example. So you can see, that most of it looks like a tech, but within the tech, there is a differentiated tech. A healthcare is using a tech. A financial services is using a tech. A human resources is using a tech. A education business. I think within tech also, you can have this differentiation. Just to give an example of Anupam Mittal, who is again one of the well-known sharks. Look at the way, he has looked at building his investment portfolio. Agri tech lane, electric vehicles. The way, he has built the portfolio. This is what I said in the beginning. It's an alternative asset class. You need to allocate the money. You need to have a thesis because that's the foundation. Then I think you'll be able to build a much more better portfolio. One of the most important statement is this: as you're building the portfolio, let's also remember, let it not be in the same category, because don't put all the eggs in the same basket. I think we need to have this ability to get a lot of deals. The deal flow has to be significant, because only then, we'll be able to diversify. Angel investment always stimulates our intellectual thinking. So why not look at different segments? What stops us from even looking at different segments? I'm a fan of looking at different segments. Though consumer may be closer to my heart, I definitely know I look at various segments because that's what makes me much more intellectual. So one thing I realized is that I need to have deal flow. Kanna abina deals were a problem. But I need to ensure that I have this discipline of going through them. I also have the discipline of saying no or yes, or maybe because you're still evaluating. That is something that we need to do, because that's how we become better in this whole aspect of angel investment. Finally, I think if you have to ask me why this angel investment, I think it gives us a great opportunity even to maximize the chance of an entrepreneur to succeed. Look at the other way. Entrepreneurs are brilliant, no doubt in that. Founders are brilliant. But I think with our additional help, probably there's a higher chance, for the entrepreneur to succeed even more bigger, or maybe even more faster. So why not, be a service to them also, if we believe that that particular startup, the founder, the idea, the market, the competition is well within our understanding of this belief that that startup can scale up, that startup can be successful. So that's my framework, and I call it as a fantastic framework. The first three is the foundation, the next three is assessing, and the final is balancing. This is what we saw. Look at it as an alternative asset class, allocate the money, ensure that you have a thesis, assess the founders, the skin in the game, and the networking capability, and probably even sharpen our own networking capability. Let's improve our circle of competence. Let's time it effectively, but more important, let's build an investment portfolio. I know it takes time to build an investment portfolio. A lot of patience is required, but trust me, only when we build a portfolio, higher chances for us to get significant returns. I'm sure a question will come to your mind: why fantastic? I'm a fan of this acronym or mnemonics. So if you take the first letter, you jumble them, you get the word fantastic, and that's what makes me even remember this. You think, I have a fantastic memory? For me, this mnemonic, makes me even remember how do I even look at the foundation, how do I assess that assessing ability, and finally, my own ability in terms of how I am able to balance the whole portfolio. So that's the framework called fantastic. I'll quickly conclude with some of the do's and don'ts, and then I'm open to the Q&A. This is the first mantra. We are investing because we believe there is significant return. We're not trying to help somebody. Let me repeat that. We are not trying to help somebody. Apri help panna, it's coming out of suo moto. Nambala yoshchi pandrom. But otherwise, we should expect higher returns from the startup. That's the first belief with which, we even look at investment. Small ticket is okay. 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh, it's okay. Need not be always a 25 lakh, check. Diversification. Don't put all the eggs in the same basket. This is one thing, that we need to develop over a period of time. Probably if you're already smarter than this, fantastic. I need to learn from you. Developing this eye for talent is something, that we need to be sharper at. Because once we are sharper at that, trust me, we'll be able to, make much more better investments. And probably the better investments have got a higher chances of multiplying in a much more bigger way. Networking, even for us with other investors, with other angels, is very, very important. One thing I learned in this whole journey is that I need to have a sense of urgency. and have the daringness, that courage, even to make the decision. Yes or no. Sometimes maybe because you want information, you're waiting for information, but make the decision faster. And most important, have enough deal flow. So how do I have enough deal flow? I'm also part of few angel networks. I discuss with some of my VC friends all the time, even to understand what investment they have done. I go through the website also to see what new investment they have done. What is their motivation? Deal flow is very, very important. Quickly on the don'ts. As I said in the beginning, never for the faint-hearted. Highly risky investment. If we don't do our homework, probably this fantastic framework which I have, if we don't do our homework, very difficult now even to get there. There is a period, a waiting period. It's called marathon. In my case, I've told myself 5 to 8 years, and therefore quick payout, rare, doesn't happen, no. In many cases, doesn't happen at all. Very, very important. I may be very focused on a particular segment. I can even be irrationally exuberant about that, but kodadu. No, a big no to that. I need to ensure that I'm able to have multiple sectors, where I'm invest. If I don't understand a sector, let me do the homework and even get to that segment. If you come across a wonderful opportunity, just because the valuation appears high in our mind, let's not say no. If we believe that the valuation can still go up, nothing wrong, because end of the day, the whole idea is how do I multiply the money that I've invested? And finally, herd mentality, Vanda. It is very common. It's extremely easy to get influenced, but somewhere now we need to have this discipline of not just being a follower. Sometimes we need to listen to our own heart, mind, and the gut. On that note, thank you so much. I'm open for your questions. Thank you so much. With your permission, I'll stop sharing so that I can see you.
That was an inspiring session, Chandrashekar. That was a very much inspiring session. And now, investors, we can open it for question and answers. We can ask your question directly to Shekhar itself. Investors, you can ask questions to Shekhar sir directly. Yeah. Yes, Sundar sir. Yeah.
So yes.
Vanakkam, Sundar sir. Vanakkam.
Thank you so much. I think I should have listened to all these things, 3 years back before I started investing.
That's very kind of you, sir. But you are already a Jambavan, so always, you're in.
So one quick question regarding the small check size, right? Yeah, I agree with you. We should start investing in a smaller amount, right? But many startups, they do have a minimal check size, right? Like a 10 lakhs or 25 lakhs. So at that time, it is very hard to negotiate with them for the smaller check size. Maybe if Chandrashekar Kupperi negotiate, they may agree, right? To have you, which will add more value. But that may not be the case with Sundar.
Sir, what you pointed out is so beautiful because I think all of us face this. In our journey, when we begin as an angel investor, many of us face this. One thing I've told myself is, sir. So, I've always spoken to the startup founders that they need the money. My limitation at the moment is only 5 lakhs. That's what I can do. So what I try to do always is, because I said angel investment is not putting in just the money, also trying to add our expertise, leverage our expertise, I make it a point to share with them that these are some of the benefits I think I'm capable of offering to you. Because we all come from the gray hair experience.
Yeah.
And when we say that with conviction, and if the startup really needs it, they are much more amenable to our statement. But in case they don't need it, obviously you're right. We would hear no from them. But what I've realized over a period of time, especially in the last few years, is that startup founders need money. So they are not very, very finicky about the minimum check size of a 10 or a 15 lakh, unless the series level is quite high. For example, let's say they are in Series A, probably at that time they are a little nervous about bringing in a smaller check because their size of investment that they need would have been much more higher. At that time, they find it difficult. This is one answer. The second answer, which I have seen, not easy, sir, but still happening in the market. Some of the founders are willing, to do a secondary, a small secondary, just to ensure that they can accommodate a particular investor that they want if they believe that there's going to be a synergy. We should exploit this for the right reasons. Not exploit in the literal meaning of the exploit for the right reasons, and then, possibly, it can happen. Some of them in the earlier days, I think now it would be slightly difficult. They used to form an LLP or an RLNG, and then they used to put, money, which is a combined money, which was also one of the way of doing. But now I'm finding it a little cumbersome because the laws are also becoming stringent.
Yes, challenging.
Yes.
Yeah, you are right. I have invested in some startups like 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs. Those startups are very desperate in getting the money or raising the funds. but not all the companies are willing to do that, right? That's when I started doing it to peaceful progress.
No, true, sir. What I did, sir, I did something like you only. I used to be part of angel networks. For example, today I'm part of TCA, I'm part of IPV, I'm part of Venture Catalyst, I'm part of, few more forums. There, the beauty I have is because they have a combined benefit of so many investors, and therefore the size could be even a 3 crore, 2.5 crore. Our ticket size could be as low as a 2.5 lakh, 3 lakh, or in a very rare case, 5 lakh. So that gave me the ability, to be part of, much more startups because I was able to go through, those angel networks.
That's right. Thank you. Thank
And of course, you're right. The micro, angel funds like, one that we run also give you that benefit. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sundar, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir. This is Ramas.
Yes. Rama, madam, good afternoon to you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. That was a wonderful session for sure, sir.
Thank you.
So that fourth, I have a couple of doubts, sir. The fourth point in the don'ts, that is, don't be, if you get a good opportunity, don't be hesitant for from few issues like valuations.
Valuation, yes.
Yes. What is
எனக்கு இது ஆயிருக்கு மேடம் ரொம்ப இது எனக்கு ஆயிருக்கு ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் some of the startups which are in the deep tech space, if you look at the valuation, நமக்கு ஒண்ணுமே புரியாது ஐயோ ஆனா நீங்க வேல்யூவேஷன் பார்த்தா எடுத்தவனே வந்து 100 கோடி.
yes, sir.
So the typical mindset would say, என்னப்பா how is that 100 crore? I think the mistake we should not be doing is not having this ability to understand that probably they started 100 crore because they'll be raising a much more bigger round. Let's say the round is 20 crore, they are already directed to the 20%. But that 20 crore will help them come up with the right POC or the pilot or the MVP to ensure that they're able to demonstrate and then move to the next level. And therefore the 100 crore can even become a 200 crore.
Okay.
என்னோட திங்கிங் எப்படி இருக்கணும்னா 100 வந்து ப்ராபப்ளி 250 crore போக முடியுமா 500 கோடி போக முடியுமா அங்கதான் நான் யோசிக்கணும் தவிர என்னப்பா நீ ப்ரீ ரெவன்யூ ஆச்சு நீ பிகாஸ் திஸ் மிஸ்டேக் a lot and trust me நிறைய பல்ப் வாங்கிருக்கேன் in terms of not investing in some amazing startups.
Okay.
So because they are able to accommodate our ticket size, I think it's such a benefit even to be part of such amazing startups. At a later on stage, they may not even accept the ticket size, that we have. In the Samhita, no. So never miss that opportunity, when we are able to catch them young and at the ticket size that is favorable in terms of our...
Oh, okay, sir. And the second one is, sir, what are the basic rights of on the part of investor or the startup? That is, for example, I've invested in a startup in the early stage or idea stage. For example, they have grown and they insist to give an exit for me. Can I just say that on my part, no, I'm not interested. I have to, because since I see this asset class as similar to stocks. My vision. If I hold a stock for long term, depending upon their potential and their efficiency, I can earn more அப்படின்னு ஒரு மைண்ட் செட். ஸோ நான் அந்த பாயிண்ட் வந்து அங்கே பண்ணிட்டு I want to hold back அப்படின்னு இது லீகல் ரைட்ஸ்லாம் எப்படி இருக்கு அப்படின்னு தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும்.
So typically, Rama madam, உங்களுக்கே தெரியும், if we are investing a higher amount, we'll obviously be given favorable rights. For example, we have right, even to sometimes say that I have the right of refusal. You want to sit, but I have the right of... when we are a bigger investor. As a small investor, unfortunately, we wouldn't get those rights because the whole idea about the startup landscape is this series of investments. The bond they're able to raise, and that too, from a venture capital or maybe a larger VC or maybe a private equity at some point of time, is when we all get a significant exit also. For us to get a significant exit, you want somebody to put a significant money. ஏன்னா அப்பதான் வேல்யூவேஷன் அதிகமா போகும்ல நம்மள மாதிரியே small amounts போட்டு தான் வேல்யூவேஷன் பெருசா போகுது. So I think my request to you is that this is something that I learned the hard way, madam. There is one gentleman, okay, by name Mr. Gaurav, okay, part of Chris Capital, and he once advised in a forum saying that whenever exit comes,
Okay, fine. In what forms? Whatever forms.
In all forms.
Okay.
இந்த ஸ்டோரி ஒன்று சொல்லிடுறேன் உங்களுக்கு, அப்பதான் உங்களால் புரிஞ்ச முடியும். இந்த ப்ளூ ஸ்பான் கம்பெனி இருக்கு,
Okay.
இப்ப இல்ல, ஆனா ப்ளூ ஸ்பான் ஒரு கம்பெனி இருக்கு. ஓகே, நீங்க யாரை கேட்டா ப்ளூ ஸ்மார்ட் அப்படின்னுவாங்க. ஆனா இப்ப ஐ காட் 2 times to exit that company. ஏன் அப்படின்னா பிபி வெஞ்சர்ஸே போட்டான், பிரிட்டிஷ் பெட்ரோலியமே போட்டான். அவ்வளவுதான் சேகர், அடுத்த வந்து பணக்கார நீதான். Though I heard Mr. Garo saying this, long time back, I missed that opportunity. But except for Blue Smart, in other cases, I took the exit. Blue Smart, somewhere, we put this wrong judgment of saying longer you wait, it can benefit. In some cases, it can work your way also. But in this case, fine. But let me repeat this again. Not unga konila. Any path repeat. Whenever there's exit opportunity, they should immediately accept it and walk away, assuming it is profitable. I'm not saying, just because some small benefit comes, you exit. If there is profit, you do that. Typically, the founders will never ask us to exit. It's only a buyback, which happens from the founder side. Typically, it is the bigger investors who come and give the exit. So, for example, in my case, when I invested in Samosa Party, I had invested, when there was no venture capital. Then Kalari came in. When Kalari came in, they give exit to small-time investors. That's how I got the exit. So what I'm saying is that only when the larger investor comes, then the exit chances are, unless it's a strategic buyout, somebody has bought the business. And obviously, they don't want the investors. On the summer, the exit varla. Rare cases when the company has become bigger and gone for an SME IPO or an IPO.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rama. Thank you.
Sir, this is Sundaraman here.
Sundaraman, sir, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Very nice listening to you. It's a great experience. Now, I'm a very techno-commercial person. I'm a very pure technical guy with a lot of background. First-time investor. When we are investing, should we really look into the valuation? How to judge the valuation is a big question, which I don't have an answer. I think many of us will not have the answer.
Many of us don't have.
And should we go with the lead investor's decision on this?
Sir, I will make this statement very boldly. In fact, we don't even have a right to negotiate on the valuation if the lead investor has already agreed.
Okay.
So, first நமக்கு அந்த ரைட்டே வராது. இல்லப்பா இந்த வேல்யூல வரமாட்டேன் சொல்ல கூட முடியாது. சோ
இல்ல வரமாட்டேன்னு சொல்லல. இப்ப அவங்க லீட் இன்வெஸ்டர் ஒரு 50 crores வேல்யூவேஷன் போட்டுட்டாங்கன்னா ஒத்து வரலனா மேபி ஐ கேன் ஒன்லி வித்ட்ரா.
சோ இந்த ஒத்து வராது கூட ஆர்ட் தான். என்ன ஆர்ட் அப்படினா
எக்ஸாக்ட்லி அதுதான் தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும்.
If I believe that today it is 50 crore, but because that I see something in that founder, I see something in that segment, I see something in terms of how they're doing differentiated from the competition. So in 50 crore, maybe 80 crore, maybe or 200 crore touch பண்ணும் அப்படினா I think we should take that punt. Okay. Because it's risky, but we are taking a calculated risk, informed decision making. இதுதான் நான் பண்ணுவேன். So every time I also ask this question, how did that lead investor even agree to it? So one of the ways by which if you're able to have that access, you can always ask for a valuation report. Now the valuation report will not give you any significant understanding of what the valuation guy has done, but our own homework in terms of understanding some of the multiples. For example, our revenue on the 10 crore irukku, and therefore he is saying 5 times, therefore it is 50 crore. 5 times, is that an industry standard? Is that something? So நான் என்ன பண்ணுவேன் அப்படின்னா, I always have this network of people போட்டு வாங்குறது. இது மாதிரி செக்மெண்ட்ல 3 times தானம்மா, ஓகே அது மேல போகுமா? என்ன ஷேக்கர் நீ சொல்ற, அந்த ஸ்டார்ட் அப் 7 times எடுத்துருக்கான், அந்த ஸ்டார்ட் அப் 8 times எடுத்துருக்கான், அப்போ ஓகே 5 times ஓகே தான்ப்பா. So sometimes we have to do a lot of hard work, sir. I make the statement to myself sometimes, the harder we work, the luckier we get. So I think sometimes our own hard work gives us that luck, and therefore one is to have an ecosystem where we are able to have people who can guide us, who can advise us. Second is our own effort, and then sharing with others.
Excellent view, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chandrashekar.
Good afternoon, sir.
This Selva. Good afternoon. Daniel இருக்கேன். உங்க ஃபேப் fabulous.
I love it, sir. Thank you for saying that. நான் parrot சொல்லணும்னு ஆசைப்பட்டேன், யாராவது சொல்லுவாங்களான்னு. Grateful to you.
You're fabulous, and it's an amazing player, bro.
Thank you,
As well.
Very good.
இதை விட அழகா ஒரு தெளிவா நல்ல ஒரு தமிழ் இங்கிலீஷ் கலந்து சொல்ல முடியாது. இதை நீங்க வாராய்ட் பண்ணணும். ஸோ தட் தி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம் இன்வெஸ்டர்ஸ்லாம் ரொம்ப யூஸ்ஃபுல்லாக இருக்கும். ஏன்னா நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி இந்த ஆல்டர்னேட்டிவ் அசெட் கிளாஸ் நிறைய பேருக்கு இன்னும் இது இல்லாமல் ஓவர்சீஸில் லாட் ஆஃப் பீப்புள் வாண்டிங் டு நோ இஸ் தர் இஸ் எ லெஜிட்டிமேட் ரூட் ஃபார் தெம் டு டேக் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட், ரைட்? பிகாஸ் உங்களுக்கு தெரியும் அங்கெல்லாம் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் கம்மி, ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டிஸ் இந்தியாவில் நிறைய இருக்கிறது, தினம் பேப்பரில் பார்க்குறாங்க, இந்த மாதிரிலாம் நிறைய இருக்கிறதுனால ஸோ இது மாதிரி நம்ம இது வந்து ஒரு டவுன் ஹால் மீட்டிங் மாதிரி ரெகுலராக வாரம் பண்ண வச்சிங்களேன். இது மாதிரி ஒரு அழகாக தெளிவான லாங்குவேஜில் புரியுற லாங்குவேஜில் அழகாக எல்லாருக்கும் சொல்லணும்னா ஐம் டாக்கிங் அபவுட் தி கைண்ட் நம்ம இது ஸ்டார்ட் அப் சிங்கம் வந்து அழகாக தமிழ் மக்களுக்காக பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. ஸோ
நீங்க சொன்னது ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் சார். நீங்க சொன்னது ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். Lot of investors outside of a country who want to invest and they're looking for the right avenues of force. What is this?
எஸ் அண்ட் இட் ஷுட் பி டேஷ்போர்ட் ட்ரிவன். இன்னைக்கு அது பெரிய விஷயமே இல்லை. ஆமாம், நான் வந்து ஜஸ்ட் டு கிவ் யூ மை பேக்ரவுண்ட் வந்து ஐ எம் பார்ட் ஆஃப் பிஃபார்ம் சர்க்கிள், ஐ எம் பார்ட் ஆஃப் பிஸ்லேட் அப். நான் வந்து ஃபோக்கஸ் இன் மொபிலிட்டி ஸ்பேஸ். ஐ ரன் அ டிசைன் அண்ட் இன்ஜினியரிங் கம்பெனி பேஸ்ட் இன் பெங்களூர். ஸோ அந்த ஸ்பேஸில் இப்போதைக்கு ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன். 10 to 15 companies I have taken so far. Similar ticket size, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs. அதில் வந்து ஸ்டார்ட் அப் சிங்கம்ல ஒரு கம்பெனி நம்மளது வந்து சிங்கம் 2 lakh விஷயா இஸ் மை
Yes, correct.
மை போர்ட்ஃபோலியோ கம்பெனி. அண்ட் அந்த பிராண்ட் நான் வந்து நெதர்லாண்ட்ஸில்
Right.
தட் வாஸ் டன் பை மீ. ஸோ அது மாதிரி லாட் ஆஃப் மொபிலிட்டி ஸ்டார்ட் அப்ஸ் நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி இந்த செக்டர் ஸ்பெசிஃபிக் இப்போ டு பிகின் வித் பிகாஸ் தட்ஸ் வாட் ஐ டு.
You're right, correct. And then slowly, we expand. You're right, correct.
ஆமாம். ஸோ இதில் கம்மிங் பேக் டு த கொஸ்டின் வந்து என்னன்னா, இது மாதிரி நிறைய மார்க்கெட்டில் வந்து ஸ்கேம்ஸ்டர்ஸும் இருக்காங்க. இதையே விட்டு எங்கேருந்து வந்திருப்பாங்க, பூந்துட்டு அவங்க வேலையாக தான் இருப்பாங்க. ஸோ இதை வந்து எலிமினேட் பண்ணுறது எப்படி, இதுக்கு லெஜிட்டிமேட்டாக வந்து எப்படி ஒரு 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 ஃபோரம், ஒரு லெஜிட்டிமேட் ஃபோரம்க்கு சப்போர்ட் இந்த மாதிரி இன்வெஸ்டர்ஸ் இப்போ இன்னைக்கு 50 பேர் இருக்காங்க, நாளைக்கு அது 500 பேர் தான் வருவாங்க. நம்ம வீக்லி மீட்டிங் பண்ண
Correct.
ஸோ
It's ஒரு பியூட்டிஃபுல் சார். ஆமா.
ஸோ அது வந்து அதுக்கு என்ன நோ யுவர் கஸ்டமர் மாதிரி நோ யுவர் ஸ்டார்ட் அப் ஃபவுண்டர். கேஎஸ் கேஒய் எஸ்எஸ் அவங்க மேலே ஏதாவது போலீஸ் கேஸ் இருக்கா, அவங்க மேலே ஏதாவது அந்த கேஸ் இருக்கா, ஸ்கேம்ஸ்டரா இது மாதிரி ஏதாவது இருக்கா இப்போ ஜஸ்ட் டு பிஃபோர்?
ஸோ இது ரொம்ப ஒரு இம்பார்ட்டண்டான கேள்வி செல்வா சார் நீங்கள் கேட்டது. லெட்ஸ் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் ஃப்ரம் அன் ஏஞ்சல் இன்வெஸ்டர் HNI பெர்ஸ்பெக்டிவ். நான் சொன்னேன் இல்லையா, முன்னாடிலாம் வந்து நான் டைரக்ட் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் பண்ணியிருந்தேன், பல்பு வாங்கினேன். ஏன்னா பிகாஸ் ஆஸ் அன் இண்டிவிஜுவல் சார் நம்ம
அதுக்காக இந்த கேள்வியே
பல்புனா தான். ஸோ என்ன ஆகுது அப்படின்னா சார், நம்ம வந்து வி ஆல்சோ ரன் அவர் பிஸ்னஸ் or let's say we are part of a corporate world. Where do we even have significant time to monitor all the time? So what I decided over a period of time is being part of some well-known angel platforms where I have to pay a fee also. For example, in about WFC, there is a fee. It doesn't come cheap. For invest platform, there is a fee irukku. You want to be part of IPV, fee irukku. Venture capital, fee irukku. Chennai Angels, fee irukku. Unga Mumbai Angels, fee irukku. I have this right to pay the fee, sir. Yena peace of mind. Enna peace of mind அப்படின்னா definitely these guys, because they also have a team, they are able to do a much more better assessment of the founder as well as a due diligence on the founder.
Exactly.
When the money is collected also, it is collected in such a way that the money goes after getting the bank account. Sometimes it goes in an escrow account. And because now the Companies Act has made it much more stringent, it becomes even more beneficial. So, enna பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் sir, we should be either part of an angel platform or be part of a fund. That's why in the next avatar, I have now become part of various funds. கிட்டத்தட்ட 9-10 ஃபண்ட்ல நான் இருக்கேன். The reason being, it gives me the benefit of one, the corporate governance, which anyway, these guys will have to do because SEBI ullo vandita. Second is, I think my ability to even speak to those team, to understand the startup better, and then connect to the founders based on that understanding, makes me much more educated. ஒரு லெவல்ல பேசணும்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன் சார், I think we'll get a lot of respect from the founders also. நான் ஒரு ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் சொல்ல போறேன், with due respect to the founders, until they want the money, நம்மள எல்லாரும் ஐயான்னு சொல்லினே இருப்பாங்க. பணம் வந்தானு பொய்யான்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. So, I'm not saying this just for the heck of jokes, sir. In at least some 3-4 seen this. எனக்கே நடத்திருக்கு to wonder என்னடா இப்படி ஆறுதுன்னு. But my guru beautifully says, sir, if you are cheatable, somebody will cheat you.
ரெண்டாவது நம்ம கொடுக்குற அட்வைஸ், இப்போ ஐம் 60 years அண்ட் நம்ம லைஃப்ல இந்த மாதிரி நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி இந்த ஸ்டார்ட் அப்ஸ்லாம் இந்த ஃபியூச்சர் ஆஃப் திஸ் கண்ட்ரி, ரைட்? ஸோ அவங்க வந்து நம்ம அட்வைஸ் அவங்க வந்து எடுத்துக்கிறதுக்கு தயாராக இருக்கிறாங்கன்றது ஒரு இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் பாயிண்ட் வந்து நான் பார்க்கறேன் ஜென்ரலாக.
கண்டிப்பா.
ரெண்டாவது நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி எனி ஏஞ்சல்ஸ் இப்போ நிறைய ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைமர்ஸ் இருக்காங்க. இங்கே என்ன பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் மாதம் பாயிண்ட் வந்து 2 lakhs 3 lakhs அவங்க ரைட் ஆஃப் பண்ண தயாராக.
கரெக்ட். இட்ஸ் அ ரிஸ்கி இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நம்ம மைண்ட்ல வரணும். That's why I said, he say allocate money, it's a play money. It's my excess savings that I'm putting in. I have become better at this art of angel investment. In fact, நான் ரொம்ப ஜோக்கா சொல்லணும்னா சார், I always say angel investment is expensive tuition fee. இந்த ஹார்வர்டு நம்ம தான்
படிப்பு ரொம்ப பட் அதில் கற்றுக்கிற படிப்பு வந்து அதை விட அதிகம். ரைட் சார், தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச்.
தேங்க்யூ சார், தேங்க்யூ செல்வா சார், தேங்க்யூ.
Bye, Krish. Bye-bye.
தேங்க்யூ.
Any other questions, investors? Anyone else have any questions? Or Naufal, can you check with Arun? Nuraman, sir, thank you so much.
Raman sir, thank you sir, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Boss. Well, thank you so much, investors, and thank you so much, Shekhar sir, for joining today. Thank you so much. And so as
Thank you.
thank you so much. And Startup Singam, we are very much clear, like how we train the startups and prepare them for investment readiness. Mari. For first time angel investors, we are also giving some sessions to them. So value added sessions, which will definitely give them an enlightening. So that
எல்லா இன்வெஸ்ட் வேணா, I'm getting a lot of ideas from others also. So it's always a beautiful thing you're doing.
Kandipa, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And thank you so much for mentioning Startup Singam and the efforts whatever we take. And after the investors being in the very value add on our own ecosystem. Thank you so much. And over to you, Naiful. And yes, you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful session. Thank you, investors. Thanks for taking time and joining for this session. Looking forward for many more sessions like this. Thank you.
Thank you once again. Thank you everyone. Thank you Startup Singam once again. Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.